Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, and I am the Pulpwood Queen here with one of my dearest new blogger friends, Annie McDonnell. Annie runs the Write Review blog. She's incredible. I honestly think she could be my baby sister. And she also is this year's recipient that I just announced. I put it out there to the world, all the winners of our 2019 Books of the Year. And Annie is the recipient of the 2020 Doug Marlette Award that is for a person that has spent their life promoting literacy. So congratulations again. I love your outfit, Annie. Yes,
it's totally saying I'm ready for next year. Woo-hoo!
Woo-hoo! So we're going to be talking in conversation about the Write Review and what you've been doing up in New York State in getting all the words out on all these fabulous authors that are being featured on your different programming. So tell us all about it.
Okay, so well, I went from Elle Magazine in 2006, and then when it left print, Amory Nieves of Get Read PR said, apply at Chick Lit Plus. So I went there blogging for the first time. Didn't know what I was doing, but Samantha March taught me everything. Then I started the Write Review, and I started interviewing authors right away when I had my own blog on the blog, like Jamie Ford, and it was so much fun. And then when Facebook appeared in around 2008, 2009, I just said, oh my gosh, I can interview authors live. So I started doing this. And then Serena and I met in a book club. So we started the Write Reviewers Book Club. So, I interview authors, but what I do is I look about many months ahead, maybe 3 seasons ahead, on a whole bunch of sites, on NetGalley, Seasons, their Book Buzz. I look ahead to see, read about all the books coming out, and decide which ones I think are going to be great. Like Diane Zena's The All Night Sun, and I write to the author and I say, can I read your arc? I want to interview you when your book comes out in 9 months or whatever, or 6 months. And they always say, sometimes they say, oh my gosh, it's so far away. I said, well, let's pencil it in, So I do all of this, and we set up the interviews. I interview the authors. I have book club chats occasionally, but I got sick recently, so that swayed a little bit. But I also produce at the Nola Nash show, which is the Second Line show. So I get like 5 or 6 guests a week, which I started with Lucid Publishing last Saturday.
Yay!
Yeah, that was so much fun. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun to watch. No, I was the interviewer. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm like a viewer too. It's just crazy, but I interview.
We kind of go back and forth across the table.
Yeah, so it gets
what we're doing. But
we
interestingly, what you just said brings up a question for me. Do you go directly to the authors and their websites, or do you go through their publishers?
I go directly to the publisher. To the author. But I am in conversation with all of the publishers. Good. Or the publicist.
Yes.
So, if I get a publicist name, like if she says it, let's say, like when Ellen Feldman, when she said, talk to my author, set everything up, I'm totally in. I get the author's name, the publicist's name, that goes on a list. So her name and email is on my list. So I always stay in contact with her. Hey, do you have any new historical fictions coming out? Because they're usually doing historical fictions. So I know a lot of publicists' names, who they have. I follow their websites. I follow them to see who they have coming up. Because if you're in a relationship with them, they have a real lead on what's coming out. So I stay in very good contact with them. I also follow the publishing houses' sites, their pages, what's going on. And I also follow, if somebody writes a review and I like it, I follow that person like there's no tomorrow.
Like Claire Fullerton.
Oh yeah, I mean Claire Fullerton's a god to me, you know. So I follow her. She wrote to me one day and said, you know, you're very sparkly and shiny, and you could like really shine, and but follow my 9 pages of advice. You know, it was really, I didn't know who she was, but she was generous enough to give me all of this advice. Like, and she really wrote it out to what I was doing. Like, it was very particular. So I took what I loved and what I could work with. And then I called her up and we talked about it. And, you know, it's because she believed in what I was doing. She thought I had a good personality. So yeah, so Claire and I became friends. That's how we became friends. And so yeah, I follow her reviews, of course. And I thank her so much all the time because, you know, she changed the course of what I was doing. Like even how I introduced myself. I used to always say, oh, these are all of their awards. And oh, these are all of this is the sample of a review. And, you know, she said, just go right into the interview. Don't list all of that stuff. You can talk about that during the interview. And so it changed the way I introduced everybody. That was a huge thing that she changed, that she made. And, but, you know, Robert Waltney, he writes awesome reviews too. So I started following him. So like he said he loved this book. I bought the book and I'm going to be reading it and reviewing it. And I wrote to the author already. You know, so, you know, I trust what people say when I know that I love their reviews very much.
Right.
So, you know, that's a huge thing of what I do. But I also introduce authors to one another.
Exactly.
You know, like Sandell Morse, I introduced her to Jennifer Robson because their books are so similar. And then I threw Kwame, I don't know how to say her last name, into it, who wrote The Mountains Sing. And now they interview together. They go around on things
Isn't
together.
that wonderful? I love seeing all those author connections.
Yeah, I love doing that. That's my favorite thing to do. It was funny. My favorite one, though, was Marco Raffaella. He wrote How Fires End, about his family's survival of Sicily 43, the invasion of Sicily in World War II. Well, James Holland, World War II expert, wrote a book about it. I didn't realize he did documentaries and he was this big to-do guy. I called him up, I got his phone number, and I was like, can you come on my show? And Mark was like, yeah, good luck with that. Well, we did it.
Of course.
He ended up doing it, you know, and it was just amazing, you know, and I just think all you have to do is ask. The worst thing they can do is say no. Yeah. And I'm really big, of course, on writing reviews. It's not just about the interview. It's about reading the book, understanding the book, and reviewing the book. And if you can't, even if you don't have time to review the book at that time, because like I got sick this year and I couldn't review every book, I gave them stars, and I'm going to go back, you know, so you don't forget, but always give stars or a lot.
I give 5 diamonds in the tiara for
every
single author that I pick, which is the highest mark. So why would I pick a book that wouldn't be the highest mark? I don't do bad reviews.
Absolutely right. Everyone always says, you always give 4 and 5 stars. And I'm like, do you know how much research went into this book before I read it, before I invited the guest on? I already knew I was going to savor this book. Otherwise, why would I be having them on? So sometimes a 4, sometimes a 5. And then sometimes I wish I could give them a 10, of course. And those are the ones that really stick with me, and I shout from the rafter, like my panel. I love these authors. I love them so much that they had to be on the Pulpwood Queen weekend, because it's like the highest place I could get them. You know what I mean? You know, you're the biggest book club, so I couldn't bring them any higher. So I had to invite them. So, you know, that was basically the highest review I could give them.
It's very kind of you to say so. But what I want to know is how many hours you work a day on this?
All day.
What time do you start? I know, because you've called me at 5 in the morning.
4, yeah.
Yep, 4
I mean, I'm
a.m.
up
I
and
start. And what people think when they see you do a little post, they go, oh, well, they do that, but they don't realize you start at 4 and maybe quit at 1 in the morning and I know, because you and I will be up together and we'll be chatting, or I'll be chatting with Susan Susan Peterson from Sue's Reading Neighborhood.
I love her.
We bloggers are up at the crack of dawn. And by the way, I just want to share with everybody, Susan Peterson had a fire across the street last night.
Oh no.
It destroyed all the cables and internet, so she's not able to get on it all today, and she's sick. So I'll be sending her after I record them, I'll send them all to her. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just saw it in an email. So unfortunately,
gosh.
Susan hasn't been able to be here today, and this has been a fabulous day. Wouldn't you agree? It's been incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so much fun to watch everybody. I just watched Claire. Speaking with Miss Russoff, it's just, and it's so funny. Like, I have to call her Miss Russoff. She's just so. It just feels like she knows everybody. She knows everything.
She does.
It's just amazing. And
I was very lucky to have her as my agent.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, and that's all because of Cassandra King. Because
I couldn't believe it. It was like, did you see? I don't know if you saw my comments, but as soon as she said Pat Conroy, this halo went above her head. I'm not kidding. And then she said Cassandra King, and it got brighter. I don't know. I believe in that stuff, though, and I mean, I'm sure I believe in that stuff. So,
well, we both.
I mean, you have to believe that Pat Conroy knows you do this.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
I believe that him and Doug Marlette are watching right now and seeing Marley and seeing Shar, who runs our Beaufort chapter, and seeing Jonathan Hote. They've got to be just laughing their heads off. And now you won the Doug Marlette Award, so you deserve it.
Thank you so much. I was so humbled when you told me that. I was on the phone. I mean, it's like, pardon me?
You'll have to read about him because he.
Oh, I did. I did. I did. I mean, he's just such an amazing person. I've read a lot of his comics now. When you sent, I'll tell everybody, where were you when you found out? Like an Oscar, right? So I was on the phone with my best friend in Virginia. I'm talking to her, and I said, wait a minute. I just got spammed by the Pulpwood Queen. She said, the who? I said, Kathy just spammed me. She's saying somebody's trying to tell me I won an award. I'm like, I have to call Kathy and tell her there's like something going out that's not, she was hacked or something. I don't know if you remember, I called you and I was like, what is happening? I didn't believe it. So thank you so much. It means the world to me. You have no idea.
Marley was a winner. Jonathan Hote was a winner. You are incredible in an incredible company.
I can't believe it. And it all started because I entered a contest with Elle magazine. My first review I wrote in 3rd grade, actually, for the school newspaper. And it was literally, read this book, you'll like it, like that. And I mean, that's what a review can be. It's all about just giving a line, saying something positive. And I'm really, can I say something about reviews for a second?
Do. That's
okay.
You're the right review. You have to.
So my big thing is the high five. Always give. If you can't give stars, give the high five. So 5 stars, 5 adjectives, a 5-word sentence with an adjective at the end, or write a paragraph. Do whatever you want, but don't give away spoilers. And I always say this when I talk about this. Spoiler is that which ruins the thrill, the suspense, or the thought provocation, or the imagination of the excitement you might otherwise experience. People forget little things like and I say this one all the time, the 100-year-old grandmother smokes marijuana. You don't tell people in the review, oh, she was so cool, she smoked marijuana, because like you flipping the page and like that to you was oh my God, she smoked, it excited the reader. So don't tell, if it excited you, if it just like that as a shock, it shouldn't be in the review. You could say the grandma was super cool, like a lighter touch. Don't tell what it was, the exact thing.
And for God's sakes, don't tell the ending.
Yeah, don't tell the ending. But and you should never slam an author. It's their job. You never should slam someone's job. And the other thing is, don't ever. I don't believe in leaving negative reviews.
Me either.
Ever. But the main thing is, you what was I going to say about that? You should never leave negative reviews. I think if we're all on a bus, I think 45 people on the bus, there's somebody you can hand that book to. So let's say I don't like Mandy Haynes' book. She's right next to me. Because I don't like short stories. Why did she send me this book? I read it, but I'm bored because I don't like short stories. In my review, I would say that there was a story, I'll choose a story I liked, but it really wasn't my cup of tea because I'm not into short stories. But if you love short stories, you're going to love this book. Still sell it. Sell the book. Sell it for what it was meant to be. If they say that there's sex scenes, don't complain about the sex scenes. Like you can't complain about stuff that authors say are in the book. It's just wrong. I can't stand that.
I know, and I think it's unfortunate when those type of things happen. So be kind in your reviews. And there's so much bad that's being put out in the world. Why add to it?
Correct.
And you don't know how long that person may have worked on that book. I mean,
Correct.
I actually got one of my first reviewers called my book Purple Prose. And so immediately it was a reviewer from Canada. And immediately I sent a message off to my friend John Barrett, who wrote Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. He's the only person I only have had two authors that wrote a book that not one word of their manuscript was changed by their publisher from the time they wrote it. I mean, that's impossible.
Wow.
But John, they did not change one word. And I said, I want your honest opinion on my book. Is this Purple Prose? Is this a, whatever? He said, Kathy, you told your story in the most authentic voice that if anybody isn't compelled to read it, then there's something wrong with them. He goes, I think you accomplished your goal, is you wanted the people to know why books saved you. He goes, right. And I go, are you just saying that because you're my friend? He goes, no, I would not tell you that unless it was the truth. And I believed him. And I've had 66 people blurb my book, mostly men, by the way. Everybody thinks it's because it's pink, which you have no idea. You have no choice on your cover. They picked that. But they all said they enjoyed it thoroughly. So I kind of relaxed about it and went on. But yes, it's true. Why would we want to put any more negativity out in the world?
Yeah, I had here we go, about negative. Authors should I knew a lot of authors. You should never worry about negative reviews because they've done research, and 65% of the people, if all your reviews are 5 stars, 65% of people will skip it because they'll say these were all fake. These aren't real.
Yeah.
They want to see you in the 4.2, 4.4 range or something like that. So, and it only, a 1 or a 2 star can bring it down, but not drop it so far. So I would never take it too seriously. It is what it is. And that person just didn't hand it to the other person on the bus.
And the funny thing about a bad review, when somebody writes one that's scathingly just mean, I always think to myself, and people get so hurt, I go, what I think when I see those is it tells you more about the person who wrote the review than your book. And that's oftentimes true. You find out they haven't even read it. They're just jealous or another
That's
author.
True. You're right. Half the time, I don't think they read it either. Well, somebody, Vanessa Little, she's a thriller author. Somebody wrote this huge thing about one of the characters. And I commented, which I normally don't. I was like, you didn't you don't know, you didn't read this book properly. Did you skim it? I'm like, because this character was this way because of this. Well, she ended up writing to me and we ended up talking about the book. So, you know, sometimes I didn't write to her to argue. I wrote to her to say, you missed something because she was like this because she had this experience. This happened to her. You missed something in the book. So sometimes, you know, you can interact with people. You can press like on good ones, on good reviews. If for authors, it lifts up their reviews. It changes their numbers on Amazon. There's lots of things you can do.
Well, we have 5 minutes.
Okay.
What is the most important thing that you can, you want to cover, and how do they get to your Write Review page or contact you about maybe getting on one of your, your programs?
Well, everything is the Write Review, so it's fairly easy. Well, my Instagram, I'm sure if you put in the Write Review, it would bring you to me. Is McCorsky, MCHORSKY, but I think the Write Review brings you right to me. So the Write Review, it's very simple, will bring you to me, and it has my email on there and everything. But I have a LinkedIn account, or not LinkedIn. I forget what it's. Oh my gosh, Linktree account that has everything. That's under the Write Review Linktree account, and it's very easy to look that up as well. I want to say, everyone should always pick up a book and let it start off as a 5. A book doesn't have to prove itself to you, or it has to disprove itself to you. So it's very hard to bring, and that way it's very hard to bring it down. You have to like a book, and you have to remember, you're going into the author's head. They're not trying to go into your head, right? So don't bring your baggage into that. If it's a way that you're going to not like a book. If something I experience is making me not like a book, I'll write to the author and I'll say, I'm sorry, it's triggering me. I can't read the book. You know, there's things that happen, but a book should never have to prove itself to you. It's been published. The author worked, and I think that that's one of the most important things in reading it all, is that it shouldn't have to prove itself to you. And checking out reviews are really important, because you're going to find those things that, oh, there's a lot of cursing in there. I don't like cursing, so I shouldn't read the book. Or, just look at reviews or whatever. It's really important.
The last question I want to ask you is, you've led a very interesting life, and I know your backstory about your personal life. And have you ever thought about writing a memoir?
Well, yeah, actually, I'm working on one now. And Darren Strauss, the author, he wrote The Queen of Tuesday, and he's written a memoir he's won awards for. He's read a couple of things and given me notes. And it's usually, that doesn't have to be in there. It's not important. But
well, you need people to critique yourself.
Yeah. I mean, he's awesome. The whole beginning was, I had maybe 5 things, but he said, no, breaking your neck in the car accident's the most important beginning. That's where your life had a trajectory. Don't write about the other stuff. So yes, I am working on something.
Because I found that if you really want to know about an author, look at the books they're reading. Because if you're really a great author, I was at Cassandra's on her birthday last year, and at her house, and the house is a living library. Her and Pat's house, every place you can possibly imagine is a bookshelf filled with books. And once you see that, you know why he is a legend in this world. So I'm going to suggest to all the authors out there that you put together a list of your favorite top 10, top 15 books, like I did in my first book, and get it to me, and we'll share those lists, because you want to know what somebody's like, read the books they're reading. And then second of all, the story behind the story. It's all about the story. And yours, Annie, is an incredible journey. And if you had one thing to say about reading and the right review, could you sum it up and just what is your motivation?
My motivation, I think the whole world needs to read. I think there needs to be books in every house. It's the soul of the house. It's the first thing we put in my house when we bought this house was a book. And I think everyone can benefit from it. And I think God put me on this path because he knew I'd end up not being able to move very well. So this is a perfect job for me. And I just absolutely love it. It's my heart and soul. I love it. And I can't get enough. It's like when I have to go to bed, I'm like, no, I'm not done with what I'm doing, you know? So yeah, it's what I love to do. Absolutely love to do.
Well, to find
So thank
somebody
you.
as passionate about books and reading as an authors as I am is like my biggest day. So thank God you were put in my path.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I always wanted to go to the Pulpwood Queen weekends.
Well,
So
you're here.
I know. So when you invited me, I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. It's just the biggest honor, you know. You sent me a tiara. I nearly died when that came in the mail. Like and then the award, like it's just been a wonderful, it's been a scary year, as you know, but it's been a wonderful year as well. So I can't complain about anything. You lifted my life up so much this year,
Well,
and I
you
really
lifted
appreciate
mine, and we've got to go on to the next panel. So
Okay.
thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
I love you. You're just
I love you too.
okay.
Everybody needs to contact me. Have a great day.
Stay in touch.
You too.
Next up, everybody, we have one of our Lucid House publishing authors, Douglas Thompson, who has been running the tech scene behind the scenes. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Doug, and you're going to help all of us negotiate. You've become kind of give your background, and then we want to hear what you have to say, because your Zoomathon program that you gave us as a test PowerPoint presentation for our authors was fantastic. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can take me off the screen because we just want to hear from you. Thank you. Okay, you're on mute.
Yeah, you don't teach it. You don't have the 70-year-old guy be your tech guy. There's proof right there. I'm been in sales for 45 years. And in meeting with Echo and deciding to write the book that was in my head for 20 something years. And then all of a sudden, about the time we're starting to write it, then the COVID issue hit, the pandemic hit. And my industry went through a huge change. We're an industry. I'm in the senior market. I deal with selling insurance to senior citizens and have for 40 years. And we're kitchen table people. The book is just story after story after story of sitting at someone's kitchen table. And all of a sudden, we're out of business. And so a good portion of our salespeople were seniors themselves, 60, 70-year-old people that we had to all of a sudden teach how to sell on the phone, how to sell on Zoom calls. And so I've been nonstop training people for 6-8 months on how to use Zoom. And trust me, this group is the smartest by far group I've ever had. You guys picked up on it so quickly. You even taught me some tricks in it. And I love working with all of you. So with that said, then we're going to let me make one switch here. Is that in teaching people how to be salespeople, one of the things that I want to share with this crowd in what I've heard, you already use the terminology 5-6 times. I've heard authors use it. So it's going to be, you already know the need of it. And everybody is in sales. This whole conference has been about sales, regardless if you're a publisher, an agent, an author, or just trying to promote your book club. You need to learn how to let people know what your services are, your products are, you have to offer in a quick and clear manner. We just had evidence with that with today's guest in multi different fashions in the publishing and the reviewing and blogging industry. But you only have one chance to make a first impression yourself if it's a one-on-one situation. So you've always heard the phrase, don't be a secret agent. This talk today is don't be a secret author. Be comfortable at selling where your feet are. And to get that way, you don't just put your marketing and your selling hat on sometimes. You need to be selling all the time. You need to be prepared to sell all the time. And you need to do that in a fashion. Tell everyone that you meet and everyone you talk to who you are and what you do. Enthusiastically tell people, hey, I just wrote a new book. Or, hey, have you heard about my new book? Well, then you got to be prepared for the answer and the reply when they say, oh, yeah, tell me about it. Well, all of us have seen the long answer individual, the one that sits there and as soon as you got someone interested, oh, yeah, really, tell me about it. Well, they're 20 minutes later, they're on the 5th chapter and they're going through chapter by chapter, telling you about their book to the point where the client glazes over or now doesn't need to buy it because you told me so much about it. So what we're going to talk about today is basically you need a good elevator speech. Now, another way to put that is an elevator pitch is what it's called in the industry. Now, an elevator pitch is basically the term given to any sales pitch that could, in theory, be delivered in a space of a short elevator ride. You got in the elevator with someone, hey, how are you? How are you? And you basically have a few seconds to explain to them who you are and what you did. So this only needs to be about 30 or 40 seconds long, or an author's terminology, 20 to 60 words. You need to develop your elevator speech, your pitch. Now it's designed to capture a person's attention, but let me put it this way. We just been talking to publishers and agents and so forth. If you had only 1 minute, if a publisher said, okay, you got 1 minute, go. What would you tell that publisher? What would you tell them about your book? And that's your elevator pitch. What would you say to a potential buyer that asks you to tell me more? So ask yourself, do you have that good elevator pitch? Whether you're standing in an elevator, walking down the aisle, you're meeting someone at a network event, we've all been faced with just a limited amount of time in order to make that first connection or that first impression. So good elevator pitches should be interesting, should be brief, and they should remember it. They should be memorable. But because you want to leave in their mind a reason to continue the conversation or a reason to reach back out to you. But most importantly, they need to be flexible. So what I'm telling you is you need to design one. You also need to have a couple, 3 different versions. For an example, when I'm working with clients, I teach them to have three elevator pitches. One is that 20 to 30 second one where you've only got really a 1 floor ride. You just got it real pitch, real quick, passing by. Here's what I need you to know. The other one is a 40 to 50 word longer one, which is that 3 to 4 floor ride. Gives you a little bit more time with a captive audience. But the third one is, again, that little bit longer one that when all of a sudden the elevator gets stuck, I got a little bit more time with this person. And so then you keep it brief, however, still, but you don't tell them chapter by chapter everything that's happened, but there's some structure to the elevator speech that we're going to go through. But prior to you drafting that pitch, consider what your objective is. What do you want out of this? Are you promoting an organization? Are you pitching an idea? Or are you looking to sell a book? I've seen some people that will start off their elevator pitch on one concept of these 3, and then all of a sudden segue another direction. You need to make it up. You're only confusing the client. You need to make up your mind when you start with that client, what your end goal is. What do you want from this pitch that you're going to give them? And then later, if you built a relationship, you've built a relationship with the individual that becomes a customer of yours or a buyer of yours, you can segue into the other things that you do. But to do all of that at once, basically, you'll see the eyes roll over and they're glazing over and they're smiling, but there's no eyeballs there. Okay. So an elevator pitch basically is, it could be different, but it should be the difference between a new connection and a lost opportunity. There's a lot of us have a lot of opportunity put before us, and you either blow it or you connect with it. And there's so many times that you leave that opportunity, and on the walk out of the building or the walk away, you said, I blew it. And we used to call, as I told Echo, we call those steering wheel reviews. Is when you've blown that sale, you go out to the car and sit there and you give yourself a review of what I should have done, what I could have done, and so forth. So here's some structure to a good elevator pitch. Is you really need to have 4 key elements in it. And one is the uniqueness of it. Does it feel original? Is it you? Is it coming from you? You don't want to memorize a section out of your book. You don't want to memorize what a publisher told you. You want to memorize a review. You want it to be from you, from the heart. Does it feel distinct from all of the other books out there in the market on your subject matter? What is in your elevator pitch that makes you different than a book that's very similar to you? If you're writing a murder mystery, what is different about your murder mystery than anybody else's? And then you want to make it striking. Striking is there an edge to it? Do you have a glimmer of steel shining, somewhere in your pitch? Let me give you an example. If it's a book, is it a book about an astronaut seeking to survive? Is it a book about a wife who fakes her own murder? Or is it an ordinary boy, an orphan, going to an ordinary school? Those are all books you're familiar with. But that little striking phrase changes the pitch, changes the story to another way. People go, that sounds interesting. Now, is it fresh? Does your idea feel timely? World's changing quickly. Terminology's changing. We've just been hearing that nonstop from everybody we've been speaking about in the publishing industry. And so does it feel like part of the new wave of enthusiasm into what's happening to your genre of book? That can evolve. You might have wrote your book last year. You might have wrote your book early 2020. And the way you would pitch that book today is different than you would have in January of 2020. So put some thought into that. And then compelling is that, does it leave the listener saying, when you're done with your elevator pitch, the best result you can get, hey, that sounds great. Tell me more. If they glaze over and walk away, guess what? It didn't work, and they didn't swallow it. So there's no greater feeling than an author can have than introducing yourself and giving a short explanation of your book, and to hear that, well, that's great. Tell me some more. But make sure that you're ready, you're prepared to take advantage of this unique opportunity. So you need to practice. You need to practice your elevator speech, make it roll off of your memory as easily as your name and your address does. If they see you struggling with it, then it's not effective. And so the practice with your family, practice with your friends. This allows you to not only get better at instantly remembering it, but also on the delivery of it. Delivery's comfortable, it's smooth. But make this practice, it also pay off with practicing with friends and family and friends in a much bigger way that I'll tell you about in a second. But also, now that you have you interested with the closing and compelling statement in your pitch, is now what do? when they say, well, yeah, tell me more. Well, how do I get a hold of your book? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Well, you go to www. I am going to give you way too much information to remember right now.com. You know, how many people rattle that stuff off? You know your website better than your own name and address, and people nod. There's not an individual out there said, I got it. They don't got it. It went in one ear and right back out the other. So by itself, that does not work. So what you've got to do is follow up an elevator pitch with a closing statement. And a closing statement is a business card. You've got to have a flyer, a business card in some way or fashion. Now, you can get business cards. It's one of the cheapest marketing tools you can get. But you can have lousy business cards. Now, bless their hearts. I hope you don't see the names on these. But these are lousy business cards. Number one, small, hard to read. Look at the back. All that marketing material shot and gone. Okay. So what we do is, this is a fantastic business card. It not only tells you how to get a hold of them, but it gives you examples of what you were just talking about with that individual. For our bed and breakfast here in Jefferson, same thing. Here's a beautiful picture of our bed and breakfast, but here is how to get a hold of us. So you can get business cards for 5 to 7 cents a business card, but this is my first book. So in talking with Echo, I decided, I do this for a living. I'll just be a little bit more creative. So I think I showed some of you already, is I then created a different type. I created my book, a little mini version of my book. I took the front and the back cover, had it created. And then all of a sudden, on the inside of the book, there is some reviews of the book, and here's my contact information. So not only did my elevator pitch make an impact on the book, they're keeping this card. I'll guarantee you they're going to keep this card. I've had how many people say, wow, what a neat card. Now, Echo bailed me out the other day. Is the company that I had print this thing, and I got some others coming. When I had got it in, the inside of it was upside down. Here's the outside. The inside was upside down. So I apologized to Echo, and I says, I got to go get these redone. And she said, no, Doug, wait a minute. Stop and think about that. You give this card out, and you can tell people this book is going to turn your life upside down. Whoa, great idea. So guess what? I ordered the next batch the same way. So I love it, is that this card, you needs to make an impression on them, and it needs to be able to how to get a hold of your contact information. Now, you can have a card printed up per book, or for some of you, you've got a whole library of books that you offer. What you need is to have a card. You can have a card also built up about you, the author. I think what Annie just mentioned a few minutes ago, the link tree type concept, or your website. You put your website in there to where they can go in and find all of your books and all contacts of you, to where they not only can get the one book, but they can get access to the others. But you need, second of all, is to have this handy. Is that one of the worst things you can do is give them the elevator pitch. Fantastic. How do I get a hold of one of them? Hang on a minute. I know I got that somewhere. And I've seen people dig through their wallets, through their purses. I've seen a card come out of a purse that looked like a small animal ate part of it. And you don't want to give that type of a card out. So there's two things you need to have on yourself at all times, is an ink pen and a business card, and have it in an easily accessible area to where it's just like a weapon. You wheel it out and here it is. Thanks a lot for asking. And then you have a pen to be able to add. They want to add some information. I've seen them say, well, I need to add here's a pen. Or of course, now a lot of you are so famous, you carry one around for autographing, but a pen and a card will get you the sale on that book. Now, I guarantee if you make your card impressionable enough with your elevator pitch and your business card, it's going to get shared. I've had people ask me for a second card before in the insurance industry. They'll ask for a second card because they know already, they're in here thinking about someone else they know that's going to love visiting with you about what you do for a living. So make details count is, again, have those handy and have those impressionable. Now, the other one is networking. Is something I've heard first of all, let me back up. What I've heard 4 or 5 times in this meeting this week has been people bringing up elevator pitch. It's fantastic to hear that. You guys are already aware of that. You're already aware that of the need of that. But the networking is about this entire meeting. Kathy is the master of networking. Okay. Now, once we leave this, we're all going to feel naked and need a jacket because now our network just shut down and closed. So continue that. Volunteer right now in COVID. And even before that, organizations are trying to test and get back up running, whether it's Rotary, Lions Club, Chamber of Commerce, whether it's an online or whether it's a face-to-face. They're starting to try to figure out how to make the world work in this new pandemic situation. So they're all loving and digging for new speakers. So I have already got 3 speaking engagements set up on Knock Knock on my book. And you get the press multiple times out of this, is that they'll put press out to announce that you're coming to present to their organization. They'll announce to everybody through Facebook and Instagram and everything else that you're there that day, you're coming that day. And then all these organizations take pictures. They want press for their organization as well. And they're putting it in the newspaper. They're putting it on Facebook, excuse me, with your picture there saying Doug was out here talking to us about his new book, blah, blah, blah. So again, take advantage of that. Right now, we're kind of hunkered down, but there's no reason why either through Facebook or through Zoom or through some experimentation out in your area as it's safe to start doing a little face-to-face networking. And then what I told you about a few minutes ago, your families and friends is great resources. Take advantage of them. Is number one, you're using them as a sounding board to test your elevator pitch. If you do this, it pays off in multiple ways. You do it enough, your relative learns your elevator pitch is better, as good as you can. And I've seen that come back in spades with my wife and my kids. When we've been out somewhere and someone says, "What does your dad do?" And I hear my daughter give my elevator pitch. Whoa, she's heard it so many times from me, she can do it as good as I can. So do your relatives have your books? Do they know how to get a hold of your books? Do they have your business cards? And do they know your elevator pitch?
What is your elevator speech?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I've got 2 of them for you right now. Today's Knock Knock is a fast-paced, fun-filled journey through my career in sales that not only teaches you how to be better at selling, but to also have a ton of fun while you're doing it. That's a short version. And then I'll add to it, if I got a little bit more time, is every one of us is in sales at some times or another. Knock Knock teaches you how to get out of your comfort zone, to believe in yourself, to believe in your product or services you're selling, but also to have a great time while you're doing it. And then, would you like a card? And here's a good way to order it. Now, so basically what we're saying today, and thanks, Andy, for the question. You led right, you're perfect. We practice this down pat so bad, is don't be a secret author. Don't be a secret agent. Is that you don't put your marketing hat on and then take it back off. You're wearing your marketing hat at all times. And just be comfortable with it and have fun. As my book says, is you got to have fun. I'm looking forward to Steve Manchester that wrote Menu, bought the session I had at auction. And so we're going to work a little bit on marketing. I'm sure I'm going to learn as much from him as he's going to learn from me. And so again, make sure the networking continues with this group of people that we've been so lucky to be around all weekend. So that's it.
Before we go, because I got this a little ahead of time, I got real busy because of Doug. And I immediately went out and made new business cards. Kevin Garrett took this fabulous photo of me. So I've now got this new artist book club business card, and I've got art business card. That's one of my art features. I went as far as having postcards made with Kevin's photograph of me with my art so that I could send it off with all my things.
Yeah.
I went and had made panels to put on my car so wherever I go, people can see that the Pulpwood Queen is on the road. And I've got more things coming, including Lucid House is sending me my own publishing director of acquisition card. So I listened to his advice, and thank God Kevin took all these great pictures of me, because I'm going to be using them on everything. It's on my website. It's branding yourself as an author. I also gave copies to my person who does all my mailings already. They're going to be included in all my new Pulpwood Queen memberships. I'll be taking copies over to the gallery at Stephanie's, so she'll have them. And she always, Stephanie, you've taken your book cover and made it into brochures for your tours, and we exchange these everywhere we go. So every time you see an author friend, give them some of your cards, take some of their cards, and cross promote each other. And the best thing you can do for all of us, besides buying Doug's book on learning how to do all this, which is a fabulous book, is to share photos, share posts of all the Pulpwood Queens that you've made friends with, like Steve and Doug will now be working together. Share each other's posts. If you tag me, I was up at, I don't even know what time I got up in the middle of the night. I got on there and started sharing all the tags, tagging people, doing all those things. I do this all year round. So it's really important that you all know that it's just a part of the process of what I do. I gave a whole workshop on promoting authors at the Louisiana Book Festival. And I do programs, and next year I will have my own marketing and publicity program. And with this year's sharing of all of you, we're going to get you on the online book club. If you've got a book to film, we're going to get you on the film club. I'm starting in February the new Writers Club, which I want all the authors to participate in. We have the Breathless Bubbles and Books daily blogs, which all of you, I'm going to have you as guest hosts, which will pair you, if you're a book of the month, with their gift boxes of Breathless wine. If you're a bonus book of the month, they will create a recipe with your book to commemorate your book that you can share. And share, it costs nothing to share. If you can't afford to come to Girlfriend Weekend, at least share it with all your friends. And I just want to tell you, there's a couple other things that I want to share before we go into the next panel, which is just any second. We had 3 slumber parties, and I look for the people that participated the most and who gave outstanding speeches and who's been sharing and posting throughout the things. So I am going to tell you right now, before we go into the the Lone Star Literary panel, that I've got some recipients of who will be getting complimentary passes to Girlfriend Weekend for 2022. The number 1 is going to be Doug Thompson and his wife, because my gosh, working behind the scenes, Echo Garrett and Mandy Haynes, who's now the new executive director, these are just givens, you all. But the people that I want to give a package to next year, because I found what they were saying and doing and sharing and commenting was important. I hope you guys are here. I'll post it out there later. But for the first night, I actually am giving 2 because I just thought what they had to say was incredible. And that was Stephen Manchester. Okay, you're going to get a free package to 2002 weekend. Isla Morley, also incredible story. I want to support these 2 authors that are great. Then I also want to give a package to Joe Palmer, because Joe, your comments to me, your sharing of the poem, your participating, people I pay attention to who is doing things without having to be asked.
Oh, God, thank
Go
you.
beyond the call.
Oh, Joe.
And I just want,
Thank you.
if we can bring those people, if they're here, up onto the panel screen. We've got Stephen Manchester, Isla Morley, if they're there, and Joe Palmer, bring him up. You guys are awesome. And we are on this road together. These are all being given to you in memory of my friend, Tawana Anderson Neal. As I didn't get any scholarship money this year, but I'm scholarshiping you because it's important that those that go beyond the call and participate the most and have the best stories are brought into the picture. So for those of you that didn't get it, it doesn't mean that you're not deserving. It just means that next time we get together, think about what you can do to help your fellow author. Or Steve went to church with me this morning. I notice those things. Gregory Phillips has gone with me in the past. I notice authors that do things that are promoting the bigger picture, because that's
Kathy, did you say Eileen?
Isla Morley. Is she
Isla.
here?
I can't find her.
Well, she was here earlier. I'll
Okay.
let her know. But you guys are fantastic. I thank you. I've made note in my book that you're going to get that. Yes, Joe.
I
love
did
it.
something else communication wise. I just wanted to share with you guys. I hate writing return addresses. So I went to Staples and took them my my bookmarks that Sherry had made for me,
Yes.
and had them reduce it to the size of a mailing label, both for envelopes and packages. So if I send books out to people, I don't have to write Joe Palmer, blah, blah, blah on there. I just stick a mailing label on it, and people
Good.
love them.
And I went to Vistaprint to do all mine because I got a 50% off coupon. I wait for those sales, but I do want to get a book cover. You know, I want to get those little book covers. And you went to Zazzle, is that right?
Zazzle. Yep.
Zazzle. I couldn't find it on there. So if at some point you could share with me
Okay.
how you did that exactly, I think everybody should have a little book thing. And then we'll show them all in one slide at the next festival. But congratulations to our winners of our 2022.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
And I've got one thing to say. Thank you for including my wife. Is that I didn't want to take and rub it in. It's been a long 3 or 4 days. You guys all been eating crackers and cheese. My wife has had roast and potatoes waiting for me. And when you'd see me go off on Zoom, I'm eating. You know, I'm sorry, but she's earned every minute. Oh, look at there. And Joe's drinking some
I've
scotch.
survived on coffee for 4 days because I haven't had time to eat. I think Echo and I have been eating chips and salsa for dinner for nights.
And Kathy, I just wanted to say thank you. And also, I think it's so important, right? The networking piece of this where, you know, I have an established readership. My job as an author is to try to grow that. So I really appreciate this weekend. But my job is also to introduce all of your work to my readership, right? So don't be shy about tagging me in and let me know, right? So it's so important, right? Even if you can just bring on a few new readers and we keep building from there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Kathy, I'm sorry, but all you guys are all making bookmarks and all that stuff. It's awesome. But people like Sue Peterson and me and Eileen that have book clubs, we send off books to winners. It's so cool when authors send us that stuff because we then put it in and the people get like a little package and
Love it.
they love getting that stuff. So send that stuff to us too. Thanks.
Will do.
oh yes, I send packages off to Annie, so she's amazing. So, but the one thing I've learned is I'm in the business of selling books. So I'm going to tell you, as far as talent goes, don't give your book away. Give them something that will entice them to
Get
buy
the
the
book.
book.
Right,
You want
exactly.
everybody to go to Main Street Reads to buy your book. So I don't think I think you should send all reviewers your book, but don't give them away. We're
No.
devaluing our 6 years or however long it takes you to write a book. Give them something that will entice them. You know, I gave away, I don't know, 4 or 5 t-shirts last night that every time people wear them, they're going to be promoting the Pulpwood Queen's book club. So think about something that will advertise your book and they go, what's that? You know, then get them to buy your book. And I will tell you one last thing, because we've got to go to the next panel, is if you're talking to somebody and they ask you about your book and you hand it to them, have them read a paragraph. And 9 times out of 10, they'll buy your book. Just a little tidbit I've learned through the years. I learned that from Stanley Marcus is his book, Minding the Store. So we're going next to the Kristine Hall Ways, which
but
goes by
we're staying
Hall.
here. We're staying right here.
Yeah, I know we are.
Okay.
But I got to bring Kristine on board, and we're going to have a conversation. Thank you, Doug. You're a rock star.
Thank you.
Okay. Kristine, are you there?
I'm here.
Yay, we're going to get you up at the top.
I'm putting my my crown back, my tiara on. Oh, it was squeezing my head. I don't think I'm cut out to be a princess.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I don't know where it went, but buy crowns, because crowns don't have those prongs and they fit on your head and they're comfy. And that's why I like hats too, because they're comfortable to wear. But for you, all of you who do not know who Kristine Hall is, she's known as Hallways, very clever.
I'm so clever.
On her social media, but she also owns and operates Lone Star Literary LitLife. It's an online, explain what it is, Kristine.
I was kind of laughing with Douglas talking about the elevator pitch, because it's hard to explain. My family definitely can't tell you what I do. My husband's pretty good, but everybody else they just say, oh, she does book things. You know, they just don't get it. They just don't get it. And it is hard to explain, because it's not a print magazine. It's not a print newspaper, but it is an online media source, is what I've come down to. And I typically say it's an online media source for all things bookish Texas. And bookish Texas has a pretty big definition, because, you know, I always say, well, I'm the boss. I get to say what's bookish Texas, right? But Texas authors, Texas books, books about Texas, Texas connections. And it's not just for Texas readers. It's for everyone that just loves that spirit of Texas. So that's a little longer than an elevator ride,
But I've been sharing her things. She's really been tweeting things out, and she's been putting it out on Facebook. She's, what I've done is, we had a conversation, and I said, well, I don't really have a whole lot of money to advertise, but in-kind trade outs don't pay the bills. So I took a leap of faith, and I know how hard it is here in Texas with all the bookstores that have closed and people strapped for promoting their books and everything. So her company and my book club both are kind of in that same place. So I said, maybe we can help each other out. And I decided that I would take a leap of faith and I would sign up to advertise for a year in her magazine, My Authors. And normally this is done for the Texas authors because it's Texas Lone Star Literary, but we found a loophole. The loophole is the largest meeting and discussing book club in the world was started here in Texas by me. And because we are now an international book club, all of you fall under my Texas umbrella. So each month I'm going to be giving to Kristine features on my authors, no matter where they are. But I'm going to need some help in paying for this advertising because it's something that I felt like you're going to expand out to. Texas is a size about 4 or 5 states. And we have, I mean, just to drive across it takes days. So if anybody's really interested, it's going to be nominal. The more people on board, it's going to be very inexpensive. So I'm going to make the commitment because I want to help this wonderful young woman who is really the only entity in Texas now that is promoting authors, book festivals, book events. And because all the book reviewers from most every one of the newspapers have been let go. My good friend Michael Merschel, who was with the Dallas Morning News after all these years, was let go. And where do you go? I mean, all the contacts for everybody I had in the country that worked for magazines and newspapers are gone. Everything's gone freelance. So we've got a wonderful young woman who believes in literacy as much as I do, and just give them just a little aspect of your magazine and tell about it.
Well, I'm over here blushing because you're calling me a young woman.
Well, you are to me because I'm 64, honey.
Well, I'm going to be 54 this year, so I don't feel like a young woman.
You're the baby sister. You're the baby sister.
We'll take it.
Okay.
We'll take it. So no, I'm really excited about our loophole, and it's something that I have been thinking about since I took over Lone Star. We're about Groundhog Day will be Lone Star's 6th anniversary. It was started in 2015 by 2 women, Kay Ellington and Barbara Brannon, who, for exactly what you said, the mainstream print publications were eliminating their book coverage or sizing it down considerably. And they were eliminating book reviews, and they were eliminating author spotlights and interviews. And Kay and Barb recognized, this, they in the publishing industry, newspaper industry, and wanted to do something about it. And I came on board with them as a blogger initially. That's where the hallways, because that's so smart, but you wouldn't believe how many people call me Hall. No, they don't get it, but anyhow, I know. Well, it's funny, but so I came on as a blogger, and then less than a year later, they hired me as their blog tour coordinator, and we have just taken off with that. But the vision is there. It is getting, and the big names with the big publishers get plenty of coverage, and we have, as you all know, I mean, just this group alone, amazing talent in Texas, amazing books, and not everybody, very few really get the spotlight. They don't get their time, they don't get the coverage. And so that's where Lone Star steps in, is we try to get everybody their day in the sun. And Kathy, you and I've talked about, it's very difficult because none of us are doing this, for the money. Lone Star is very, very successful, but I have yet to take a paycheck. But my definition of success isn't bringing in the big bucks. It is what we have been able to do for our authors. And I was peeking over there at the sidebar. I know, don't you start because I'll start. So stop that. I see you tearing up, you stop. Mary Sheriff, I think it was, I was looking in the comments. She said, I feel like an honorary Texan. Yeah, I mean, and that counts. To me, Texas is in here. Kathy, you're a perfect example. You're born in Kansas, and I guess I was just a couple of days away from that myself. My whole family's from Kansas. But Texas isn't about, where you were born, or even, I live here right now. It's a state of mind. I know it seems cheesy, but
bigger than life.
Right. And so if you tell me I feel like a Texan because, oh my gosh, every summer for my whole life, blah, 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 you're a Texan. So those loopholes, it really isn't a loophole. We are just, we're thrilled to help people. We unfortunately can't do it for free.
Right.
Because it's just such an expensive thing to just have the website, and to, I have a few staff, I have a team of bloggers, but we pay the bloggers because they are professionals and they do a professional job for us. So there just isn't a lot of money in it. I'm not about the money. I certainly don't want to go in the hole over it, but I probably would.
but yeah, that's where we're able to give not as many editorial reviews because I do have to pay staff to write those reviews. But we have sponsored reviews, and I think working together, we're going to be able to really open this up to not just being tech-centric, but Southern, because I think, you know, that goes across the county lines and across the state borders, and I think this is just going to be a fabulous way to expand, you know, what we've been doing.
The biggest problem I see, as you know, when I started the Pulpwood Queens in Jefferson, Texas, with 6 complete strangers, I immediately got labeled, you know, a Southern book club. But what nobody really realized is that our book club has gone so beyond those boundaries. There are no boundaries. We had more people come from Florida onto this year, and the Pacific Northwest and the northern states, as we did the Southerners, you know, and even out of the country. We had British Columbia, we had Canada, we had Spain, we had Malta, we had France, and I'm sure I'm missing some other places that people reported in from. But the biggest problem is that wherever you live in the world, you know about all the authors, the big authors in Texas. Everybody knows Matthew McConaughey has got this new book out called Green Lights. I tried to get him, but his publisher,
You'll get him.
I'm working on it. Maybe next.
You just have to get him. If
I
you
know,
can
if
talk to
I
him,
get
you
past
got
the
him.
publisher, because the publisher just immediately emailed me back, no, he's busy. And
Yep.
you guys, his mom lives 30 minutes from me. Okay. So, but I've learned that you've got to, it's like that little video clip I posted last night. If you put out into the universe what you want and what you dream, it will come to you. You've got to look at a bigger picture in a bigger world than even you can possibly imagine, because nobody today, if they told me this when I was a young kid teaching myself how to type in the 5th grade on my Santa Claus Smith Corona typewriter, that I would be running the largest meeting and discussing book club in the world, coming from this little town in Kansas, I would have said, get out of here. I am so shy, I'm so introverted, but I've learned that when you follow your passions and you go for it, that's why Shah Rukh Khan is my favorite actor in the world. The man has no fear. So I took a leap of faith. I've never advertised for a full year plan with anybody, Kristine, but I believe in you, and I believe that it's time to not just walk the walk. You know, I've got to talk the talk, and I've got to go outside my comfort zone and advertise more on what we are doing in the world. And I'm hoping all of you will help and support me. And I know most people go, well, I have nothing, but you know, you can't get a full year of advertising anymore for free. Where can you get this kind of publicity that I'm putting out there in the world? And I've done it for 20 years for free. Unfortunately, people think I still should do it for free. I had people argue with me why I didn't do the online virtual event for free. And I'm going to tell you, I've never worked harder in my life. And but that's okay, because this is my passion. And it's just like what Kristine does. It's what we do. And so how do they go to see what we've got up there now? Tell them the way to get to your website.
I think Mandy has put it over in the chat.
Yeah.
Has our website, lonestarliterary.com. I know, Douglas, no one's going to remember that.
But here's what all you have to do. And I'm going to tell you, for each month that you're a featured author, if you will contact me and say, I'm in, and depending upon how many of those authors are in the month, but we're not talking about a lot of money, you all. We're talking about, you know, this plan is $200 a month, and I'm willing to pay it. But if you guys could help chip in on it, it would certainly help me, because I don't take home a paycheck either. I just have to pay the bills and I have to keep this going. This is my life's work. Hey, thank you, Stephen. I just saw that. You're a rock star anyway. I love you. But I have always said that if I ever won the lottery, I would do this for free. And I'm working on a novel now, and I'm not going to give any of the story away, but I have created a novel that is the way I wish life to be. And I'm working on it now, and it may be my swan song, but you'll understand when you do read it. But I thank you for all of your support. Is there anything you want to share with anybody about anything in particular that they would need to know? We're going to need, if we do this, we're going to need your book covers, little blurbs, little things, and we'll have a Pulpwood Queen page or section that will have these features in it. And do you know what your viewership, I mean, it goes out everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's and for y'all that are saying it doesn't sound like we have it figured out, guess what? We don't have it figured out because we talked about this right before Kathy had to jump in to do all of this. So it's gonna happen. It's a work in progress. We're not sure exactly how it's gonna look yet, but I am a lot of the authors here I've seen again in the comments that I've worked with.
Thank you, Michelle Cox. Thank you.
I'm really organized. I freakishly so. Nobody is going to be floundering, left wondering what they have to provide. It's going to be nothing but good. I'm so excited, especially after this weekend that was 4 days. This 4-day weekend. Hey, we did have a 4-day weekend, huh? The book's here. I'm just blown away, and I've had the tab open because I need to place my order, and I need to know actually when the bookstore is going to close from Sherry, when we can't get our discount and put our order in and everything, because I believe
she's going to be offering this to us for the year.
Oh.
So if your book isn't out till say March, when you get those March books in, as long as you tell her you're a Pulpwood Queen.
Okay, well, then I won't worry about getting my order in tonight, but I'm just thrilled at the prospect. If we got a third of you involved,
Sherry's on board. Sherry, do you want to jump in and say something about the books?
Yeah, Sherry.
Jump in. Unmute.
Is she?
Yay, come on. Are you there? I saw you there just a second ago.
She's unmuted, but she may not be at her station.
Maybe she ran off.
Okay, well, we'll get her on board before we end today. But Sherry Staunch has been an ardent supporter of me for years. I cannot tell you. It's these partnerships that I'm making. There's a lot more I'm going to be revealing to you of where I'm going out and looking for if we join together as a group, we can do things that is inexpensive, because I'm telling you guys, there's so many books that come out in a day. We've got to figure out bigger and better ways to get our books out there. And I'm on it 24/7. So Kristine and I will be back with you when we know more. I've got to get everything ready for February. It'll be here before we know it. So if you're in February, get in touch with me and we will come up with something to send out to everybody. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
All right, you guys, we've got a short break and then we're coming back at, let me get my glasses on.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. So right now, what time do we have?
Got 7 minutes.
7 minutes. So we're going to take a break. We're going into another group chat. So we'll see you there. And this is our last panel, right, Doug, of the day?
Yep.
And you're not going to want to miss it because it's going to explain all of our jobs at Lucid House Publishing and why we're changing the whole world of the way publishing is done in this new time of COVID pandemic. So I think you're going to be excited because 90% of the profits go to the talent. So thank you, Kristine. You're
Thanks,
awesome.
Kristine.
You are most welcome. This is wonderful.
Get a picture of you to share with. I've got so many things I'm trying to multitask at the
Okay,
same
let me
time.
get my macaroon pajamas in there.
Hey, yay. So thank you, Doug. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. We'll see you guys in 7 minutes. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Bye, everybody.